Tywin Lannister. His shadow looms large over the narrative, even in death, as many characters in the story have an opinion on him, whether it's one of love and admirance or hate and resentment. As Lord of Casterly Rock and the Hand of Three Kings, Tywin took many actions that advanced the interests of his family, sometimes even at terrible costs.
So that's why you did it? To save lives?
To end the war, to protect the family.
As a result of his brutality and ruthless efficiency, how Tywin is remembered will depend on perspective. Lords from the south, like those from the Westerlands and maybe even the Reach, will remember him as a great lord who restored the power of House Lannister, ended the War of the Five Kings, and re-established peace throughout the realm. However, for northern lords, and maybe even some of the small folk, he will be remembered as a ruthless man who orchestrated the Red Wedding, committing savageries during the war, and even burning villages and towns to the ground. In this video, we will look at both of these arguments and examine the legacy of Tywin Lannister from a positive angle and from a negative one. People can say whatever they want about Tywin Lannister, but they can't deny what a brilliant statesman he was. As Hand of the King for King Aerys, he ensured that the realm prospered and thrived under his administration. It is said that the Seven Kingdoms were at peace under his guidance, and that people joked that he was the true king, not Aerys. During this period, it's said that Tywin filled the royal coffers, kept lords in line, and maintained order at a time when the realm could have easily descended into chaos, especially since the king was literally a madman. While Aerys showed poor, uncertain leadership at this time, Tywin proved himself to be a great and effective ruler, and this efficiency didn't end in governance. Tywin was also a successful military strategist, something that's proven by how efficiently he won the War of the Five Kings.
Do you think I'd be in my position if I'd lost a war?
During this conflict, Tywin was able to crush all of Joffrey's enemies on the field, at the same time forging powerful military alliances that enabled him to destroy the armies of great generals like Stannis Baratheon. During the Battle of the Blackwater, Tywin Lannister dealt a crushing blow to Stannis, saving the city from his clutches and winning one of the most important battles in the war. Afterwards, he was named as the savior of the city, which further cemented his legacy as the realm's protector. In A Clash of Kings, Mace the Balabar tells Tyrion, "Since the night of the battle, Lord Tywin saved us all. The small folk say it was King Renly's ghost, but wiser men know better." But Tywin didn't just win battles, he also forged great alliances at the same time. When he planned the Red Wedding to get rid of Robb Stark and crush the Northern Rebellion, he also created powerful alliances with the Boltons and House Frey, whom he planned the event with. Through this alliance, he was able to end the Northern Rebellion in a single night, an act that effectively ended the war and saved thousands of lives that would have been lost in continuous open battle.
Explain to me why it is more noble to kill 10,000 men in battle than a dozen at dinner.
So that's why you did it? To save lives?
To end the war, to protect the family.
In Tywin's view, the peaceful end is justified by this brutal means, and there are many lords in the books that agree that this hard decision is what ended up bringing stability to the Seven Kingdoms. It's the reason why they'll likely remember him positively in history. Tywin is respected because of his ruthless efficiency. It's what enabled him to rebuild House Lannister after the defiance of the Castelys and Reynes, ending civil wars and maintaining the power and dignity of his family's legacy. It's the reason why his contemporaries hold him in such high regard. Even Tyrion Lannister, the very son that he holds so much scorn for, and the same son who resents him and often thinks of killing him, acknowledges that Tywin's political skills and efficiency are unmatched. Tyrion even tries to emulate Tywin's political cunningness, reminding himself to be more like his father whenever he tries to be a more efficient ruler. So much praise from his least favorite son says a lot about Tywin. He was a good leader, and even his rivals recognize that, as Lady Olenna Tyrell says to Cersei.
I didn't trust your father. I didn't particularly like him, but I respected him. He was no fool. He understood that sometimes we must work with our rivals rather than destroy them.
Tywin's willingness to forge alliances with people he had despised, like the Tyrells, or even offering to wed Cersei to Oberyn Martell, showed people that he was a clever pragmatist, and that impressed even cynical players like Olenna Tyrell. For many noblemen, especially in the south, Tywin's legacy will be one of a great leader who restored House Lannister to its former glory. They'll remember him as a great lion who fiercely protected his pride, raising the Lannister name to levels it was not prone to ever before.
The house that puts family first will always defeat the house that puts the whims and wishes of its sons and daughters first. A good man does everything in his power to better his family's position, regardless of his own selfish desires.
By placing family legacy and the realm's stability above any individual honor, he achieved feats that few could match. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine Westerosi historians describing Tywin as a savior of the kingdom during the war, and a titan who left House Lannister richer and mightier than ever. This will be the positive legacy of Tywin Lannister. In the inns, taverns, and wine sinks of Westeros, and even amongst his enemies in the north who suffered at his hands, Tywin Lannister will have a very different legacy. Although he'll be admired by some for his ruthless efficiency, there will also be many more who will despise him for being at the receiving end of that ruthlessness and brutality. From this perspective, Tywin Lannister's legacy will be framed from the eyes of the lives that he destroyed and the ancient oaths that he broke in his pursuit for power. Yes, people will praise Tywin for being a brilliant military strategist, but he will also be remembered for the brutal acts that he committed during the wars, like burning villages to the ground and sacking towns. Foremost amongst these will be the sacking of King's Landing during Robert's rebellion. As the war was coming to an end, the Lannister army had come to the city under false pretenses, acting as though they were there to help King Aerys and save the city. But Lord Tywin was there for the opposite purpose.
Robert Baratheon marched from the capital after his victory at the Trident. But my father arrived first. The whole Lannister army at his back, promising to defend the city against the rebels. I knew my father better than that. It's never been one to pick the losing side.
It's said that when Aerys's men opened the gates, the Lannister army entered and sacked the city, so brutally that some even described it as a butchery. Not only did they rape and murder thousands of small folk, but the Mountain and his men also killed Elia Martell and her 2 children, stabbing one to death and dashing the other's head across the wall. What's even more disturbing is that Tywin later presented these murders as gifts to Robert Baratheon, an act of loyalty to secure his crown. Eddard Stark was so sickened by this that he confronted Robert, disgusted that the new king would allow such butchery to go unpunished. In Dorne, the population was outraged, and the prince has harbored resentment and vengeance ever since that day. And so did his brother, Oberyn Martell.
They butchered those children. My nephew and niece carved them up and wrapped them in Lannister cloaks.
This event shows that to House Stark and Martell, Tywin's legacy won't be positive. He will be remembered as a butcher and an evil man, one who was not above murdering children and defenseless women, and even breaking fundamental codes of Westerosi honor. Tywin's role in the Red Wedding will also contribute to further that legacy, cementing his reputation for cold-blooded ruthlessness. While some praise this event for its tactical brilliance politically, others will only see it as an unforgivable betrayal of sacred guest rights. They'll remember the Red Wedding as a massacre of guests by their hosts, an event orchestrated by Tywin Lannister through his alliance with the Freys and Boltons. Those who survived this event, like Edmure, the Blackfish, and some other survivors who were taken as prisoners, will forever remember Tywin as the evil mastermind behind the sacrilegious event. That will be the sum of his legacy in the Riverlands. But perhaps the most negative and tragic legacy that Tywin will leave behind is that which he will pass on to his own children. Despite all his efforts to try and uplift and empower his family, there is no doubt that Tywin was a terrible father to all of his children, but Tyrion the most. Tywin could never forgive Tyrion for the death of his wife and the fact that Tyrion was born a dwarf, and so he treated him with disdain and hatred for his whole life. He repeatedly abused and mistreated Tyrion so badly that it made it clear that all of his accomplishments meant absolutely nothing to him.
You who killed your mother to come into the world, you are an ill-made, spiteful little creature, full of envy, lust, and low cunning. Men's laws give you the right to bear my name and display my colors, since I cannot prove that you are not mine.
Tywin even admitted that if he could have, he would have legally disowned Tyrion, saying that the only reason why Tyrion was allowed to carry the Lannister name was that he couldn't actually prove that Tyrion wasn't his.
I wanted to carry you into the sea and let the waves wash you away. Instead, I let you live, and I brought you up as my son. Because you're a Lannister.
This kind of emotional and psychological abuse left Tyrion deeply wounded and unwanted throughout his whole life, and it is the reason why Tyrion ends up killing Tywin by the end of the story. It's a very dark but poetic end for Tywin, because he is killed by the very son he hated and tried to subjugate. His own legacy, the one that he worked his whole life to build, is the same one who shot him down. Despite all his power and careful planning, it was his lack of empathy and cruelty towards his own son that brought his downfall at the end. So what type of legacy is that? In the books, Cersei and Jaime seem to learn all of the wrong lessons from Tywin's rule, and Tyrion became a kinslayer and exile, full of bitterness for everything that his father did. So what was the point? In the end, death and destruction seem to be Tywin's true legacy, whether it's through the Red Wedding or the sack of King's Landing, or whether it's with his own family, the very people that he tried to empower. What do you think about Tywin Lannister's legacy? Which part of the video most accurately describes it? Let me know down below in the comments section, and if you liked this video, click the thumbs up button and subscribe for more content in the future. Thank you so much for watching the video. Peace.